Welcome to the Business Wealth Blueprint, where we teach business owners how to build generational wealth with ease. First, by optimizing their business, and then by investing their money for generations to come. I hope you join us as we build your wealth one episode at a time. Does your business always implode the moment you step away from it? If so, congratulations, you don't own a business. You own a job. It might be a lucrative job, but if you can't step away from your business for more than 60 days, then you don't own a business or an asset, you own a job. But today we're gonna start changing that immediately by showing you how to scale a business from the get-go so you can step away from your business. So what does that even mean? How did we get here? Well, most business owners started off doing the thing. Someone may have been a really good plumber and said, I'm tired of dealing with this. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start a plumbing company. And then it's years later and they're working in the business, never working on the business. So they never have the fundamental skills of what it takes, of what a healthy business looks like in order to grow, sustain. All they know is work. And so their business reflects that, right? If you're a chef, you're at a restaurant, you're frustrated, you're like, I'm gonna go start my own restaurant. Some people are saying, hey, I understand the technical skills and knowledge, but I never actually went and implemented the baseline business knowledge that is required for me to run a successful business. That's how most of us got here. So in order for us to turn it upside down on its head, we need to stop working in the business and start working on the business. And that is a very difficult challenge if you have bills to pay, you have employees that count on you, and now your personal and possibly your family's financial future depends on you. That's a very scary place for a lot of us to be. So first, we're gonna start by letting you guys know you gotta build systems and processes, and you have to have a good team on your side. And some of you guys are thinking right now, oh my gosh, the last time I had a team, this happened, or I do have a team, but I can't trust anybody to do anything. Then you have a lack of systems and processes. So you need a combination of systems and processes that do the work and a good team that can self-replicate and heal itself and continue to build the daily operations. Because right now it could be this idea that, and J.L. Collins will put it as genius with 1,000 hands, where you're the one, all the pressure's on, everyone will do what you say, but you have to be the one to tell them to do it. And you're like, come on guys, we just did this last week, we did this every month, why can't you do it on your own? Probably there is a system or process defect involved. And so step one is building systems and processes. Step two, you need to plan for a 1-month vacation. Make sure it accompanies over the beginning and end of the month, because that is usually the time payroll's due, bills are due, your mortgage or rent, all that stuff. You need to plan for a 1-month vacation, and you need to think, and you're like, oh, that's crazy, Hugh. I didn't tell you to go take a 1-month vacation. I said plan for one, and start saying, if I'm gone, who's gonna pay payroll? Okay, payroll's taken care of. If I'm gone, who's gonna do the ordering? And that's gonna basically force you to start filtering through who is actually responsible for doing what in your company, because you might find that you're doing a lot of tasks. Speaking of tasks, all of us as entrepreneurs, everyone in the world has a finite amount of time. And so we are some of the only people that can make some decisions, and we need to be spending our time solving problems. Once the problems are solved, we need to then delegate those problems to our systems and processes and our team to execute them. Each of us has a dollar value assigned to our tasks, right? If I'm going to spend 4 or 5 hours and I'm going to underwrite a new vendor, that vendor might mean $200,000 for the year. If things go right, that's fantastic. If things go wrong, that's also not good, and I need to be aware of that. So you take your $200,000 divided by 4, $50,000. What do you mean that's $50,000? 4 hours of time to underwrite that vendor. Are they the right fit? What do their payment schedules look like? Do they ship on time? What are our guarantees? Do they have backups in place? If I make the decision to go with that vendor, I spent 4 hours, that's a $50,000 per hour decision. On the flip side of things, let's talk payroll. Let's say you have a small team of 5 or 6 people. Your payroll might be $5 or $6 grand. Okay, if it takes you 15 or 20 minutes to do payroll, then that could be $24,000 decision. Now, if it's something that happens every 2 weeks and it takes way longer than that, and you're like, I hate doing this, I really need to find somebody like a bookkeeper to staff up, and then they take the hours, and then they make sure taxes are paid, and then they do the direct deposits. That is a task that's repeating all the time. You might be able to offload that so you don't have to do it. Now we're going to say that same entrepreneur, let's say it's Joe the plumber. They're doing the big thing, but then they may or may not be doing the little stuff. Like Joe needs to pick up a check and take it to the bank. Okay, that burned 3 hours. Okay, maybe the check was for $1,000, $500, whatever it is. Joe didn't trust anybody to actually do that. So $500 divided by 3 hours is not a very good return on his time. Joe should spend his time doing higher value tasks, such as underwriting vendors, finding new business, coordinating somebody to take over payroll properly, working on the business and not working in the business. So while you're thinking about the tasks, do you have any $5, $10, $20 an hour tasks that you're doing? Is there someone on your team that can be doing them? Next thing you do, as you're building systems and processes, you need to build them without you in mind. Don't make a person, now don't build it in where someone else is now the person that has to deal with it. Make the system and process, the process accomplishes the task. Whoever is present fulfills the process. So for instance, we have a morning routine. We have a morning meeting. It cycles through everybody in the company. Everybody in the company is responsible for making the morning meeting slides and then presenting and then uploading video and all kinds of really good, valuable, value-add stuff, communicating complex ideas to their peers. The process is in charge of that. Whoever is working on the schedule that day fulfills what is required. That means if I show up or I don't show up, somebody is going to say, okay, well, it's 8 a.m. and at 8 a.m. this thing happens. Whoever is available will fulfill that process. When you say, okay, it's the 15th, the accounting department does this. There's 3 people in the accounting department. Doesn't mean, oh, Brenda does this in the accounting department. Say Brenda normally does it, but the process is on the 15th, these steps happen. So you have enough cross-training to say, okay, the steps are 1, 2, 3. If so-and-so isn't here, the other person does it. If that person isn't here, the other person does it. So payroll keeps moving on. Think through your steps. Start planning a 1-month vacation. When you're doing that 1-month vacation planning, start systematizing based on the highest value tasks that you have. There are certain things that only you should be doing as an owner. And there are other things which take up the most of our time that we are spending our time dealing with that are low value tasks. I'm not saying they're not important. I'm saying that maybe you shouldn't be the one doing them. All right, so you start building these tasks out. Maybe you automate stuff. Maybe you systemize stuff. There's a great program that I use. It's a software program. It's called Go High Level. Go High Level is our customer sales manager. It is our calendar booker for Calendly. It is our sales funnel and campaign manager. It is our CRM for our customer relationship manager. It does all these things. There's links below. If you sign up for it, give them a try, and I will get something out of it. But that's not why I'm telling you about it. I'm telling you about it because before I had to book lots of meetings with people, and it was like, hey, Jim, does this time work for you? Oh, it doesn't work for me. Hey, what about Tuesday next week? No, all that's handled now by Go High Level, where an email says, hey, Jim, pick a time that the schedule is open. And boom, right there, the value add for me is having the interaction of that meeting. The non-value added time was me coordinating a meeting time. That was completely eliminated. The systems and process did that. I used software to do that. Go High Level is $100 a month. That sounds a lot like Calendly. Well, Calendly I think is like $50 or $60 a month. Go High Level is $100 a month, but it does all the other stuff, which is why I selected that one to use for everything. What about the sales stuff? Hugh, you are constantly putting out YouTube content and content on Instagram, and you've got to log in manually to each one, and you've got to then post that content. Well, first off, I already scaled and built a team, so my team is the one that's posting that. So I'm out of that already. But the second one, I've also plugged that into Go High Level, and my team uses that. So they have one account login they log into, and then they log in and they schedule all the posts, except for YouTube because it's not integrated yet. And from there, they just pay attention to that. And as people comment on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, or X, all of that is in Go High Level. So my team or myself, when I go looking for a conversation, whether we emailed them, whether they interacted with us on our website, whether they interacted with us or found us somewhere on our socials, it's in one spot. John Doe is reaching out for information. No matter how they reached out for information, it all comes through one place because it's all integrated. Now, myself, my staff, we're not wasting our time interacting with email and Facebook and logging in. And someone monitors Instagram, but someone else is monitoring Facebook. And is that what's going on? No, they're all talking in one spot. We can very easily control that. We can kick off an automation to reply to something. We can help them out immediately, or we can just go through and at least make a direct call and book an appointment suspiciously right from the same spot. So that's a big help. So step one is build systems and processes, evaluating them based on your timing that you personally have and the dollar value associated with every task you have. So you guys have a good hold on that. Number two, you can't scale alone. And there's a very, very big deal on not being able to scale alone. So if you're a solopreneur, right, your gym's plumbing and maybe all you have is a truck and you, that's great. But you're doing everything. The first thing, right, start doing all your tasks. You have to wear all the hats initially, and then eventually you want to scale, right? So here's my favorite place to scale. One, I have some videos around the lean hiring process. Not just about having a team, it's about having the right team, the right people in the right place. And the lean hiring process does that. It takes exactly the high value tasks and it doesn't waste your time. Here's the way the standard hiring process goes. You put out an ad on some site like Indeed or ZipRecruiter, and then you drag out, and then it's 5 weeks later and people are applying and you're spending money for ads. And as you're applying, you don't have the time because you're working it in between your schedule. And then all of a sudden you're looking at 9 weeks later and you still haven't had somebody. So you pull up the list of current applicants and you pick the first one you see that meets the bare minimum requirements. Boom. They come into the company. It may or may not be a good fit. You spent all the time training them, and what happens? They're not a good fit and they leave. And then you're on this perpetual cycle. That is the normal way. So check out my videos around the lean hiring process. It's going to have your staff, your possible new future employees. It's going to character select for people who are self-motivated, and it's going to cut out 97% on average. This is a global average of the work that you have to do. That means if previously you had 100 applications to look at, now you're looking at 3 people because you're following the lean hiring process, and only 3 out of 100 people will actually follow the directions. And so it's an easy way to weed people out, and that way you can only spend the time you want looking at the people who made it through the system. That's number one. When you do that, now an additional one, so don't think local, right? I have another video on this around hiring virtual assistants. I have several teams of virtual assistants all over the world. A lot of mine are actually in the Philippines, which is fantastic because they were used to working their nights, which is our day shift. But at the same time, we'll often be working over here. We'll pass stuff off in the evening. They'll work on it during their day. And then when we come back in the morning, it's a warm handoff. So the ball was moved overnight, which is a big deal, especially if you're in the digital space. I'll often go to sleep, wake up, and stuff is done or ready for us right at 08 when we come in. Imagine you're working all day, and then the end of the workday, you have what needs to be done tomorrow. You hand it off to some team members. They, do more research, fill out the certifications, wait on hold on the phone, whatever it is. And when you come in the morning, you're ready to hit the ground running. You don't have to do that. Big deal. So onlinejobs.ph is one place. I also have Hire Train VA as well. All those links are in the description, but make sure you are using the lean hiring process and that you can also look into VAs. Now, do you think right now, wherever you're at in the world, within a 20-minute drive of you is the best talent in the world, no matter what your job is? Some people, manufacturing, you need someone to physically come in to the office. You need them to physically do stuff. Probably you're going to have to make do with whatever you have in your local area. But times have changed. It's 2024 right now. Most work can be done behind a computer. That means don't be scared, but you can reach out anywhere in the world and find a great cultural fit, a great skills fit for you and your team, maybe a great hours fit. Maybe you have the flexibility. We have a VA, and she is my personal admin assistant and the assistant, and she keeps the ship running. She pays a lot of the bills. She keeps track of a lot of the hours, a lot of the tasks that I hated doing. She's a rock star at it. She loves to do it. And I found her on onlinejobs.ph after using the lean hiring process. So that means I use the lean hiring process. They self-selected themselves. I was only looking at very few applicants, and then I made the choice on who was going to be the best fit after that. Huge deal. Step 3 is delegate the right tasks. Remember, let's think back to what I was talking about in step 1. Everything you do has a dollar value attached to it. Make sure you're spending your time doing the high dollar, high value tasks. Not saying the low value tasks are unimportant. I'm saying delegate those to who should be doing it. Is it worth your time to spend hours on the phone on hold to get something fixed? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe someone else can be on hold and then three-way you in the moment that something happens, right? There's plenty of things, but make sure you delegate the tasks. And this can really, really be awesome. Like, okay, right now, the people who have edited this video is a VA who does all the social media. It's a team of VAs. They do my editing, they do the social media, they do the SEO, they do the scheduling, and they release it. It's fantastic. All I'm doing is filming the content and they handle everything else. I have that skill set now from a very select specific need that I had that I'm paying for just that need. I'm now delegating everything that's not filming the content to them, and they are nailing it, everything beyond that. So make sure you're delegating the right tasks to the right people on the team. Then inspect what you expect. Don't just pass it off and obfuscate, meaning that you just passed it off. Well, this isn't my thing. We're passing it off. I'll ignore it from here on out. Say you delegate. I'm delegating this to you. I'm still going to have a weekly check-in. Where are you at with this? What do you expect to be done? What are your deliverables for the week? Okay, how do we meet those deliverables? But you are no longer doing the work. You're just checking in on that. So delegation is the third major step. Make sure you're delegating to the right team. Okay, now that you have all of that, you as the owner, you as the leader can now focus on your core job, which is developing more and scalable revenue streams, right? If you are the guy if you're Joe's Plumbing and you can only do so many jobs during the day, if you scale too big, then at some point you need to delegate, you need to hire another master plumber. Now they work for you. You go get more business, okay? So you've now developed and you've delegated that task, so you've scaled, and you're checking in on that. That's a massive thing that you can do, is scale multiple revenue streams. Now, for me, we are constantly scaling. We want to make sure that we don't have, we have diversification in our income. We want to make sure we're not getting too much revenue from one site or one location. For whatever that means for your business specifically, go and develop more scalable income. If you're doing something, like for instance, I'm going to do consulting for Business Wealth Blueprints. That's fine, but I'm only going to, and someone can hire me to be on site for a week. At most, I can have 52 slots a year. That is is all that's physically possible to sell that. It's not very scalable. But if I have an online community, a course where similar questions are continuously asked, which by the way, I do, check the link for the description, you can learn that. You can help way more people. As people come in, they have tools, they have access to your resources. Now you can serve maybe 200 or 300 people in that community, maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000 people in that community, as opposed to just the 52 people if you just sell the one service. So think about scaling multiple revenue streams or finding more revenue streams that are scalable. Again, if you're Jim's Plumbing, all you can do is as many service calls that you can do. So you might need to look at scaling more income, scaling more revenue, hiring people on, and making sure that your increased revenue is scalable. Last one is measure and optimize. We kind of talked about it a little bit before during the delegation of tasks. Remember, everything that we do in our companies, every employee in our companies has a dollar value assigned to their task. If you're having them do $5 an hour tasks and you're paying them $15 an hour, then guess what? That's not a very good return on investment. You need to have that $5 an hour task. They need to be able to do far more of them during that time. Same thing. You need to make sure that you're delegating the stuff, the low-hanging fruit that you probably hate doing anyways, off of your plate onto someone else's plate, and then you need to measure. Use Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. There is a very good chance, pause this video, think about it. Whatever your company does, you have 80% of your revenue is probably generated from 20% of your products or services, right? For me, 80% of my revenue is generated from 20% of my properties. 80% of my headache is generated by 20% of my properties, and they're different properties. That means that I'm spending the most time dealing with the biggest headache on the properties that are making us the least money. You have clients like that, I guarantee it. 80-20 rule. Use that to measure and pay attention so you can work on your business, not in your business. Then Look back at your delegation step 3, and make sure you're delegating to the proper people and holding them accountable. And by holding them accountable, we're not saying, oh, I'm holding you accountable to me. We're saying, hey guys, the goal is this. Here's where we need to go. What are your ideas? Okay, in order to hit that goal, what are you going to do this week? Let them tell you what they're going to do. Then you hold them accountable to what they said. Hey, Jim, last week you said you were going to do X, Y, Z. Have you done it? Oh, you did? That's awesome. How are we feeling? Do you need support? Do you need more people? What's going on with that? Do you need different software? Measure and then optimize. If you think that was helpful, watch the rest of my channel, because I'm going to be sharing the stories, the tips, the trips of how I scale from a normal W-2 guy working full-time to now personally I control $6 million of real estate. Also, simultaneously, we're at $44 million as far as our portfolio that I manage. All of that is done with the same systems and processes that I just explained to you. These are proven strategies. This is not pie in the sky stuff. Right now, at least, I'm not making money from this channel. I'm sharing it because entrepreneurs out there are superheroes. You guys are the ones that are creating jobs. You're feeding people. You are making things happen all over the world. And so many of us have a job and they've created a monster, and that monster will consume them if they step away because they lack the skills. So this is a very easy, very straightforward process, and it's a straightforward thing. The whole point of my channel is to teach entrepreneurs, business owners, how to optimize their business and then how to generate more income, and then take that income and invest it so they can build their own generational wealth. If you like this, guys, please watch and check out this next video if you want to help the channel out. Thanks so much for sticking around to watch. Please help us by watching this next video.